is there information to be learned from the Greeks, since you made a reference to Socrates? Or is their information so outdated that it doesn't match the new millennium in your view?
Is there information to be learned from who our parents were and who our grandparents were? There's a movie that I love. It's one of my favorite movies. It's called And Now My Love. And it starts with the premise that you cannot understand how any two people fall in love unless you go back 3 generations of each person. And so the people don't meet till the very end of the movie. It starts 3 generations back. And by the end of the movie, the people are about to meet, and you don't have to see it happen. You know they're going to meet and fall in love because you've seen where they've come from. The Greeks, in terms of our Western culture, are our grandparents. We have to understand them to understand where we've come from, to understand how the story is going to make sense and how we fit into that story. We have to go look back where it all started. So yes, there's a tremendous amount to be learned by understanding Greek culture, Greek stories, Greek religion. It's the cradle.
Sometimes I feel like that character who's pushing the rock up the hill, Sisyphus. Do you have a particular character that you relate to in mythology?
I think Prometheus. Prometheus always sees the possibility. That's the fire that Prometheus steals from the gods. And Phyllis, you and I have had the conversation about the different kinds of fire. And in Greek, the destructive fire is called pyros, the root of our word fire. And it means the fire that destroys. But there was a special type of fire that the Greeks used to melt. And it's called tekia. It's very related to our word technology because by melting, they were able to form things. When you see something as it is, that's Prometheus's brother Epimetheus, which means afterthought. Yes, I know how that was. But when you can see how something of a particular form can be melted and reshaped into another form, that's Prometheus. That's looking ahead. And the fire, the particular fire that Prometheus stole from the gods was a Techian fire, a fire that can be used to shape. And what I look to do in my life is say, how can that be something different, something that could serve us better if it was melted down and reshaped? And so I would say that that would be the figure that I most relate to in Greek mythology.
Lable Braun, you are a writer, a thinker, creator. What are your challenges?
My challenges are to give voice to the ideas that are inside me. When you live with your own ideas, they become like the furniture that you ignore every day. And so I've lived with these ideas for an awful long time, Phyllis. And I think I've come to value them less because of that. And other people like yourself and other people who have been very kind are helping me to understand the value of those ideas. And that compels me to tell the life story of those ideas.
If there were, in closing, if there were a particular piece of thought from Socrates, let's take him, that we could benefit from the challenges we're facing right now, what could we borrow from him besides the hemlock that would be useful?
Oh, it's interesting you mentioned the hemlock, because I think the most compelling thing that Socrates said, which reaches to us across the generations, is what he said right before drinking the hemlock. He was in his cell. He was sentenced to die by drinking the hemlock because the judges of Athens felt that he was corrupting the youth of Athens with all these stories he was telling and all these questions he was asking. And his loyal students came into his cell and said, "Good news, we've bribed the guards. You can escape." Socrates said, "Let's think about this for a moment." They said, "Are you crazy? The guards are about to change. This is your life we're talking about." And he said, "Exactly." They said, "We have to leave right now. There's no time. You have to leave right now if you want to save your life." Socrates said words that reach across to us, across 2,500 years. He said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." There's always time for examination, always need for examination. And through examination, Socrates felt the better course of action was to drink the hemlock rather than substantiating the claims of the judges by trying to escape. 2,500 years from then, very, very few people on this planet haven't heard the name Socrates in one form or another. I dare anyone to name one of the Athenian judges. So I think what Socrates said in his final moments, summing up his own life, is really important to us. The unexamined life is not worth living. I know that information is bombarding us from so many different areas, that decisions come at a pace that is unprecedented in human history, that the amount of people who can reach us and influence us to try to do something the way they want us to do it just piles up every day. And we feel that urgency to react and not ask ourselves, is this the narrative thread I want to tell with my life? And I would urge everyone, stop, take a moment, think about whether this feels right or not, because the unexamined life is not worth living.